Hello everybody, hello. Welcome to the cold and flu prevention week. So we're obviously kicking off things today with the first day and the first immune solution. So thank you for joining me. I'm just going to give Facebook a couple of seconds because sometimes when you're doing a live, there's a bit of a time lag between me speaking and the video catching up. So those of you who are signing in, welcome. Could someone just give me a thumbs up to make my coming through nice and clear? Hi Christine, hope you're well. Everyone hear me nice and clearly? All good, I hope. So welcome to the Cold and Flu Prevention Week. Before we get into the nitty gritty, I just wanted to say, firstly, this group is, great, thank you for all the thumbs up, that's brilliant. This week, these kinds of closed Facebook groups are a really safe place and a really private place. All the information stays within this Facebook group. So if you've got, use us. It's really interactive. It's super informal. It's really chilled out. So if you've got, ask questions as much as you need to. We're covering a lot of content between now and Friday night. And it's, if you want to know, how it relates to you individually, if you need to customize it based around your own individual circumstances, if you just want to get clarification on anything, use us. Ask us questions, whether it's openly in the Facebook group or you can message us privately, but just use us to make sure you get everything that you possibly need out of this week, so that by Friday night you've got absolute clarity on why this is important, how it relates to you, and how to implement it. If we do that, then I'm absolutely confident the evidence speaks for itself that we maximize our immune health and we maximize our ability to get through this coming winter in the best possible health. So make sure you do use us. Hi Anne, hi Carol, hi Rosa, hi Carol Ball, hi Jenny. Hope you guys are all well. So it's this cold and flu prevention week was a real priority for us. When Holly and I sat down and kind of worked out what we wanted to do this autumn, getting this off the ground was a real priority. Because this time of the year, it's something that we should all be doing. For as long as I can remember, October has been the month where our self-care changes to really target our kind of infection preventing mechanisms and our kind of immune optimization. And that's true every year, but never more so than now with COVID, okay? Because obviously COVID is very, very new. And so much of what we're talking about today hasn't been, specifically tested against COVID, but what we do know is that they work against general viral mechanisms, and there's nothing to suggest they won't work against COVID. So at this time of the year, in this year, with all of the COVID chaos, it's never been more important than it is now. So, which is why we're so excited to get this off the ground. So what I want to do is firstly just spend a few minutes talking about the justification and the rationale for the Cold and Flu Prevention Week, what we're aiming to achieve, an overview, how profound our body's ability is to get through, to dominate infections, and talk about the evidence around that. I then want to talk about the immune solutions. The 5 immune solutions are the backbone of this week, and I want to just talk a little bit about how we came to those, and then I want to dive straight into talking about the first immune solution of the week, which is the dietary approaches. Okay. Hi Sue, hi Rita, hi Michelle, hi Paula, hi Kit, hi Nina. I hope you guys, hi Yumi. I hope you guys are all well. Thank you for joining me. So, this time of the year, October, it heralds the start of cold and flu season. There's many reasons for that. The main reason is that at this time of year, from now till April, there are more pathogens in the environment. There are more active viruses. There are more active bacteria. We're inside more. We're breathing stale air more. We get less vitamin D. We have less daylight, less sunlight. So there's lots of reasons why we're at a greater risk of an infection, any infection, at this time of the year. But the key thing is it's not exposure. It's not the pathogen. It's not the virus or the bacteria that's integral to this whole argument. It's us. It's our host. And in the build up to this week, I've talked about Louis Pasteur quite a lot. Louis Pasteur was the founding father of microbiology. He's the founding father of the study of infectious disease, and his very, very famous statement, which I've spoken about before, which is it's all about the host, not the invader. It's all about the host, not the invader. And by that, what does that actually mean in real life terms? What it means is that our ability to dominate our health and well-being this winter, our ability to not fall prey to cold and flu infections is more to do with our health than it is to do with the virulence of a virus or a bacteria. If our body is weak, if our immune system is compromised, if our body is weak, if our lifestyle practices are not health promoting, if we're getting poor sleep, if we're stressed, if we're not eating the right kind of food, if we're not supporting our body, if we're not supporting our immune system, then if we're exposed to a virus, there's much more chance of that virus or that bacteria actually being able to evade destruction by the immune system, proliferate more quickly, and cause a nasty infection that could see us in bed for a week or worse, or whatever that may be. But conversely, if our body is strong and robust, if our immune system is aggressive and effective, if we're engaging in good self-care practices, we're getting good sleep, eating good food, managing stress effectively, if we're happy and contented, if we're operating from a strong platform, then our ability, upon being exposed to a virus or a bacteria, our ability to dominate that virus, to destroy it before it proliferates into an infection is very, very, very effective, a lot more effective than most people think. And I just want to talk about the cold and flu strain research that supports this. It's pretty gross research. It's quite hard to get ethics for it these days. But there was some famous research done in Germany just before the millennium, which is quite famous, where they got a sealed room, and they filled it with about 80 people. Half of those people were chosen because they had weak immune systems. Their gut-based immunity was quite weak. Their blood work was quite weak. They were the immune compromised group. The other 50% of the people put into that room were chosen because their immune system was strong. Their immune system was robust. They were the strong group. They were put into the same room, and then a virus was secreted into the room via mist sprays, by sprinkler systems as such, but using air. They had sensors all around the room to make sure that the virus was being distributed evenly across the volume of the room. So everyone was breathing in the same air, everyone was breathing in the same volume of active virus. And they looked at what happened over the next 5 days. So they were in there for about 3 hours, I think 3 or 4 hours. They were in this sealed room breathing in virus-ridden air. By day 5, and this is pretty compelling. So day 5, 80% of, I think it was 81% of the weak group had an active viral infection. So 81% of the weak group had an active viral infection. Only 20% of the strong group got an active infection. That is a massive disparity between the two. That's the difference. If we extrapolate that into a real life setting, that's the difference between being in a petrol station, getting a coffee from a coffee shop, queuing up in Tesco's, someone coughing, us breathing in a virus or a bacteria. It's an 80% or a 20% chance of getting that infection based upon the strength of our immune system. That is a huge, huge difference. So we know, and that's not an isolated study. There's other studies that have replicated that. And what it shows is that kind of supports Louis Pasteur's statement that it's all about the host, not the invader. These people were breathing in the same viruses for the same amount of time, but there was a 60% difference in infection rate. And what we need to do is make sure that we're in the strong group. And the whole aim, the whole rationale, the whole focus of this week is how do we integrate things into our life? How do we adopt things into our life in a simple, evidence-based and sustainable way that's going to pick us up and firmly plant us into the strong group? How do we make sure that between now and April, we are walking around in a body that is as immunoactivated and as strong as possible, so that if we do pick up any virus, any bacteria, I'm not kind of putting labels on them, we maximize our ability to not get an infection. And if we do get an infection, that we clear it quickly and efficiently. And that's the whole rationale, the whole justification of what this week is all about. So that leads us onto the immune solutions, because when we were designing this week, we sifted through a huge volume of research, up to the ceiling pretty much, of the evidence, the research, the different approaches that we can use to really bolster our immunity, to activate our antiviral and antibacterial mechanisms, to really, really strengthen us. And it was a case of sifting through that to find the research that was most effective, most evidence-based, most consistent, and just as important, easy to adopt, simple to adopt, and very easy to sustain and comply with over the course of winter. Because it's no good coming up with these brilliant plans if it takes so much time or effort or money to adopt them, because people are going to stop doing them, which means we don't get the effect of them. So what we were left with, through sifting through that research from our own experience, is the 5 immune solutions that we focused in on the workbook. Hopefully you've all got the workbook. If you've got it, then have a flick through it. If you haven't, then make sure you download it. So the 5 immune solutions, and what I'm not saying that those 5 immune solutions are everything. There's loads of other things we haven't put in there, because otherwise it becomes too big. What the 5 immune solutions are the ones that I think pack the biggest gain for the least effort. They're the ones that give us the biggest help in the most sustainable way. So we've got dietary modifications, we've got sleep optimization, we've got the sensible use of vitamins and mineral supplementations, we've got preventative practices, and we've got herbal medicines. Okay, so each one of those 5 is really important, but synergistically it becomes much more important. So the whole of those 5 parts is greater. The sum of those 5 parts is greater than the individual components. So the aim being that if we can integrate one new immune solution a day, by the end of the week, we'll have all 5 rolling effortlessly. If we can then sustain that over winter, we're going to get all of the evidence, all the gains that the evidence shows us we're going to be getting. Okay, so the immune solutions are kind of the backbone of the week. We have lots of bonus material we're adding in different recipes and herbal remedies, and on Friday night we've got like a bonus kitchen herbal remedy live demonstration on how to make immune herbal tonics and things like that. So there's loads of bonus material, but those 5 immune solutions are the real backbone, the real core component to what the week is about. It's not just the evidence, it's not just the published evidence. I know that these approaches work because Holly and I, at this time of year, we've integrated these 5 approaches into our life, into our family's life, every year for as long as I can remember. And it keeps us fit and healthy through winter. And also professionally, we see a lot of people in clinic at this time of the year, more so maybe in November, who come to us because last winter they had a terrible winter, cyclical cold, cyclical infection, sore throat, and run down, and they don't want to repeat that. And the approaches that we use in clinic are pretty much what we're going to be covering in this week. It's using herbs, it's using lifestyle practices, it's making sure we've got good self-care. So what we're packaging up here is kind of the best of professional experience, clinical experience, personal experience, and published evidence into one kind of framework. So that kind of leads us, I suppose, headlong into the first immune solution of the week, which is the dietary approaches. So every day this week at 12 o'clock, we'll have a live session. So every day, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll have a live session at 12 where we're going to talk about that day's immune solution. It doesn't matter if you can't make it, though, the videos will stay up on the Facebook page for the duration of the week. Okay, so this is where we'll be putting up lots of the key information. So the first, hi Rosa, I've got a nasty cold right now. Kindly brought home from school, and I'm cross I didn't do the elderberry concoction. Yeah, I will. I'm sorry to hear that. There's a lot of it going around. This week is very timely. Holly Hill, yeah, same thing. Children going back to school. So there's all kinds of nasties going around. We've got really detailed protocols. This week is all about infection prevention, but obviously everyone falls prey to infections at some point in time. We're not machines. So we've got really detailed, powerful evidence-based frameworks for what we actually do when we come down with an infection. This week is prevention, but there's more robust evidence for how we actually treat infections. We'll be discussing that in detail on Friday at 12 o'clock. So this week is about the first immune solution, which is the dietary support. And there was no question when we were designing the week, when we were designing the content, it was the first, along with the herbal medicines, it was the first thing onto the page. We were always going to kick off the week with dietary support. Why? Because diet provides the raw materials for building a robust immune system. With that, doesn't matter what supplements we're using, what vitamins, what minerals, what herbs. They're not to replace diet, they're to shore it up, they're there to make it even more effective. So diet is the most obvious, the most important and the most commonsensical place for us to start, for that very reason, that to build a healthy immune system, to build healthy immune counts, aggressive immune system, effective and intelligent immune system, the body builds that from the components and nutrients that we eat. And we just got to look at the extreme to show how obvious that is with scurvy. You deprive someone of fruit and vegetables for a long period of time, they get scurvy. You give them fruit and vegetables back again, scurvy disappears. And that's the extreme case. But if we dial it back a little bit, it's exactly the same as what we're experiencing in the Western world now, which is, we need an abundance of fruit and vegetables in our diet each day to build a powerful immune system. And it's if you sift through the research, if you delve into the research, for some strange reason, the dietary approaches have become so complex. There's all these different camps and different ideas and different theories. It doesn't need to be complex. We didn't evolve with an instruction manual for how we should be eating. We just need to look at the evidence in a broad way and say, okay, what do we need to do to give our body full spectrum immunity? And the key thing is its breadth. Okay, it's the breadth of what we eat. Which is why we need to make sure that we're giving something called phytonutrients. Phyto is from plant, phyto is Latin for plants, nutrients being nutrients. So nutrients we get from plants, which includes obviously your vitamins and minerals, but your antioxidants, your flavonoids, your isoflavones, a huge array of these plant-based chemicals that build a healthy immune system. And the key thing is it's no good having an abundance in one area and a weakness or a deficiency or a low level in another. That doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. It's got to be optimal levels across the full spectrum. And if you've read the workbook, I speak about this burglar analogy, which I love, which is this idea, and this applies to most health areas actually, whether it's chronic disease, heart disease, cancer, disease prevention, but particular immunity. Which is, if imagine you were given the crown jewels to put in your house for 2 weeks and your job was to keep them protected and safe, and you get security guards and security dogs and infrared beams and state-of-the-art alarm systems and this, that and the other, the house will be virtually impregnable. But if you imagine that you left one small window open, one small area of the house that wasn't protected, that a burglar could squeeze through a small window, the burglar can squeeze through, it can get in and steal the jewels. It doesn't matter that 99% of the rest of the house is impregnable if you've got one weakness, one window open that lets the burglar in. It doesn't matter, the rest of the house doesn't matter, you've got a weakness there. It's the same with nutrition, in that it's no good, well it's better than nothing, but it's not good enough to have a huge array of protection in some areas and then clear weaknesses in the other, because it leaves the window open. It leaves the window open to the burglar, or it leaves the window open to infections, to viruses, to bacteria, and even chronic illnesses. So what we need to do is make sure that we've got all of the security systems and all of the windows shut. And to do that, that's why we advocate above all else the rainbow diet. It's absolutely the most effective way of ensuring full spectrum, whole body nutrition. It doesn't leave any windows open. Why? Because if you look at, the rainbow diet is an overused term. It's very common, it's very popular now. It's very well cited and well kind of used, but it's actually quite poorly understood in terms of the science behind it. And it was actually really advocated by an American public health doctor and nutritionist called Dr. David Herber, who really advocated this and looked at this simple framework for how do we make sure we provide this full spectrum nutrition, not 80% perfect, not 95% perfect, but 100% perfect, day in, day out, month in, month out, year after year, that we're giving the body the full nutritional support it needs. And the rainbow diet, I'm utterly convinced, is the way to achieve that. Because the rainbow diet is based around eating food from all of the primary colours every single day, day after day, week after week. It's that simple. But why is that so effective? It's so effective because the pigments of skin, the pigments in the skin of fruit and vegetables dictate the nutritional makeup of it. So if we're having, the research shows that most people in the Western world consume 2 to 3 colours of the main 5 colours every day. So we're getting about 60% of the support we need, but we're missing a very big 40%. What we need is to get that 100%. So if we're eating those 5 primary colours, it means we're getting the full spectrum of immune supporting raw materials. And the research has looked at this, and the research shows that if we're eating the rainbow every day, we are consuming over 25,000 individual phytonutrients that have a direct mechanism upon the way our body works to repel illness and disease. In the context of this week, we're speaking about infections, cold and flu infections or sore throats and things like that. But it's equally true if you look at the research. It shows us that around 80% of all chronic illnesses have their foundation in lifestyle, particularly diet. And if we are eating the rainbow diet, we are consuming these 25,000 individual chemicals that are proven to reduce the risk factors for heart disease, for many cancers, for strokes, possibly Alzheimer's and dementia, so many areas. And it's such a simple way of making sure there's no guesswork, there's no uncertainty. You go to bed at night, you've eaten a good selection of foods from the 5 colours. You don't have to worry about whether it was a red apple or a red pepper, or green kale or green beans, or blueberries or red grapes. You don't need to think about what was it, have I got this, have I got that. It's just a case of, have I got the chemicals from those 5 colours circulating in my body? If you have, it's kind of job done. And the impact of that on the immune system is truly profound. There's clear evidence that vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin K, all of these key, the potassium, the iron, the zinc, the magnesium, the manganese, all of the building blocks for a robust immune system come from these colours in the skins of fruit and vegetables. So the first immune solution, or the first challenge of this week, I did this actually when I got heavily involved in the rainbow diet research many years ago now actually. I did this. I kept a food diary. I kept a 100% accurate food diary for 10 days, so I could quantify, and everything I ate, I kind of added the colours to it. And I thought my diet was pretty good. It was pretty good, but there were quite often weaknesses in the colours. Not across a week, but definitely over every couple of days, there was an increasing gap in a few of the colours, and it allowed me to see where my weaknesses were. So one of the first things I'd say, the first and one of the most important foundational immune solutions of the week, is look at what you're eating day in, day out. Breakfast, lunch, dinner over a week or 10 days or 2 weeks. And make sure every day when you go to bed, you've eaten foods from those 5 colours. If you do that, evidentially and unequivocally, you are giving your body the building blocks that your immune system needs to become powerful and robust. And I can't overemphasize and stress how important that is, because that's the foundation that everything else is built upon. When we talk about herbal medicines, which are, I think, game changing, it still needs to be built upon a strong foundation, and that foundation comes from diet. Okay, so your first immune solution, your first challenge is to look at what you're eating and make sure every day you're consuming all of the colours. Okay, that's so important. Are there weaknesses? If there are weaknesses, how can you rectify those? A lot of people, it's the yellow and oranges. Even if you can grate carrots into porridge and not really know it's in there, could you take a raw carrot with you to work to snack on? Could you add, yellow or orange bell peppers into your spaghetti bolognese or stir fry or curry? Or could you take some dried apricots with you? Have a mango. How can you look at your weaknesses and how do you rectify it? Not just loosely, but consciously. How am I going to make sure that what I eat today covers those 5 colours? Really key, really important. And a great way of facilitating that is the Harvard Health Plate. Okay, if you look in the workbook, you'll see something called the Harvard Health Plate. And I absolutely love this. I think it's a game-changing piece of research. I think it's a game-changing concept. Because if you look at the nutritional research over the last 50 years, I think, obviously I haven't done it over the last 50 years, but I think you can condense all of the main kind of disease preventing, health promoting nutrition research, you can condense it onto that Harvard Health Plate. And if we look at this idea that 80% of chronic illnesses and also acute illnesses, flus, colds, sore throats and the like, come down to poor lifestyle practices, then a key part of which is diet. If you spin that around, what it's saying is that if we optimize our lifestyle, if we optimize our diet, we can reduce our chances of getting ill by about 80%. That is a massive statistic. 80%, 80% reduction on the things that are most likely to kill us: heart disease, many cancers, strokes, and an equally big reduction in the less severe but very not pleasant, unpleasant, colds and flus and things like that. And the Harvard Health Plate is the perfect way of making sure that the diet is taken care of. I love it. And it's about looking at the ratios of your food and making sure that 50% of every plate of food that you eat is made up of fruits and or vegetables. It then contains other smaller ratios of your grains, your healthy fats, your protein, your dairy, your oils and things like that. But that Harvard Health Plate, so it looks like that. If you go into the workbook, you'll see it. It's based upon decades of research. It comes from Harvard School of Public Health, so probably the most important public health research department in the world. And we, whenever it's a habit for us now. We've been using it for quite a long time. But whenever we are cooking and serving up food, we actually got it on the inside of our cupboard, but at the plate picture, it's just a kind of a habit now that we serve food up to make sure that it follows that Harvard Health Plate ratios. Because it means we get the best of everything. We get enough protein, we get enough complex carbohydrate, but we get this abundance of fruit and vegetables. And the big thing is that if we're using more vegetables, we've got more chance of covering the rainbow diet. So the Harvard Health Plate and the rainbow diet work together synergistically because one supports the other. Mary, I make butternut squash soup every day with carrots, celery, onions, and perfect. There are lots of different coloured carrots. How would they count? So that's a good question. Julie's asked, there's lots of different coloured carrots. How would they count? Well, if you get a natural purple carrot, the deep purple, that would act as your blue kind of indigo food colour. Whereas if it's an orange or a yellowy orange one, it would be a yellowy orangey one. So you literally you have to take your cue from the colour. It doesn't matter what the label is. It doesn't matter, if a green apple is distinctly different from a red apple. A yellow pear is distinctly different from a green pear. So it doesn't matter what the label is, it's the colour of the actual thing, the fruit or vegetable in front of you. That dictates the chemicals in it and therefore the immune impact of it. So look at the Harvard Health Plate. So the second kind of immune solution is to look at the way you feed yourself and the way you feed your family. Look at your lunches, look at your breakfast, look at your dinners, particularly your dinners, because that's where most people get kind of their main meal, and look at what's on it. look at the ratios between your carbohydrates, your pastas, your rice, your grains, compared to your meat, compared to your vegetables, and can you begin to skew and slowly alter the ratios to make them look more like that? Because if you can do that, you essentially bypass all of the different avenues and different schools and different kind of belief systems about diet and nutrition. You do away with all of it. It doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, vegan, ketogenic, Mediterranean, doesn't matter what diet you're following. If you're following the Harvard Health Plan, you're going to be getting all the benefits. And it does away with dogma, it does away with uncertainty. I absolutely love it. Hi Rosa, blue seems to be the most challenging one to cover on a daily basis. Yeah, it is. Blue covers the purples as well, and kind of the indigo. So blues, obviously blueberries is a great way. Your red cabbages, your aubergines, your prunes, your cranberries. So it's not the colours, because in some, if you look online, some will talk about 7 colours. They break it down into a few more colours, whereas the 5 makes it a little bit easier. So it hasn't got to be blue like a blueberry. Anything that's blue, dark red, purple, those kind of things. So your dark red grapes, your red cabbages, your beetroots, they're all kind of falling in between the blue and the reds. Okay, so it hasn't got to be blue specifically. Okay, but blueberries are the obvious ones. Blackberries, they fall into the blue group as well. So all of those kinds of ones. So we've got eating the rainbow, looking at your diet every day to make sure you're eating all 5 colours. We've got trying to change the structure of your plate to follow the Harvard Health Plate guidelines. And just finally, just quickly, we put in the workbook something about going heavy on herbs, which is really important, because anyone that's read, anyone knows about the blue zone. So the blue zones are these areas of the world where there's exceptional human longevity. People living to 90, 100, 105, 110, great health, great vitality, independence. And they've done a huge amount of research trying to work out what allows these people to become exceptional, what allows for their exceptional longevity, because it's not genetics, it's lifestyle, and there's diet, and there's stress, and there's family, and there's loads of things. But when it comes to diet, one of the most interesting findings was that in the key longevity zones around the world, doesn't matter where it is, one of the most consistent findings is that they go heavy on herbs. They consume, I'm not talking about medicinal herbs, we'll cover that on Thursday rather. I'm talking about culinary herbs. They use a huge volume of herbs in their cooking, whether it's in savoury dishes, whether it's in sweet dishes, whether it's in teas, it doesn't really matter. And why is that so powerful? It's powerful for many reasons, and we're talking low volumes, long term here. So we know that most herbs, culinary herbs, rosemary, thyme, black pepper, coriander, parsley, chili, all of the, sage, turmeric, all of the herbs we commonly use, most of them are powerful immune stimulants. We know that they increase circulating immune counts. We also know that many of these herbs are very, very powerful antiviral and antibacterial plants. There's lab-based, there's clinical trial data to show that these herbs are natural antivirals and antibacterials. Particularly your sages, your mints, your rosemaries, your thymes, your turmerics, your black peppers. They're proven to slow down the rate at which viruses proliferate in the cells. So it slows down their ability to grow, and in some cases can actually reverse that. So if we've got low levels of these herbs going into the body day in, day out, year after year, we've kind of got this, we never fall below a certain threshold. We've got this constant immunoprotection going into the body, these compounds that stimulate immunity and prevent viral and bacterial proliferation. And I think it's a really great approach to do is look at your cooking. What kind, is it just salt and pepper, or can you add cinnamon or turmeric into your porridge? Can you add more parsley or more black pepper onto your lunch? Can you add in sage or rosemary or thyme or basil or cilantro or cumin, or what? It doesn't really matter what. In the work we've given you a list of the kind of the core ones. but it doesn't really matter. Most herbal medicines, most culinary herbs kind of tick this box, okay? So go heavy on herbs. Really try to go heavy on herbs. And make sure that in as many meals as you can, you're adding in these herbs into it. And a key one, just to emphasize quickly, is black pepper, okay? And most people think of black pepper, as a seasoning, which it obviously is. But there's research showing that any given meal with black pepper in it, you extract 30% more nutrients from that meal than you do with the same meal without black pepper. Okay, so you sit down, a really healthy meal. If it's got black pepper in it, you get 30% more nutrients. So we should be using a lot of black pepper. Okay, it's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's immunostimulating. So go heavy on black pepper. But if you can, try and buy the whole black peppercorns and grind them up in a mortar and pestle, because if you buy them whole, it protects most of their volatile oils and most of the compounds, whereas if you buy it pre-ground, a lot of those have already escaped. So you can buy the whole corn and just grind them as you need them, you get an exponential gain. Okay, a few questions here. Quantities of individual colours, what size portion for each colour? Yeah, it varies. That's a good question. What I'll do actually, I'll post up a written answer to that, because there's very clear guidance on what constitutes a portion. So, for example, your leafy greens is a cup, whereas for things like plums, it's 2. So what I might do is to make that more accurate, I might just, Catherine Wells, I might just post that up as a comment in the Facebook page, so you've got that in written format, because it will make it clearer. Okay. Some homemade falafel could incorporate a lot of herbs. Yeah, absolutely. So lots of herbal teas will count. Yeah, herbal teas, that's the other key thing. Yeah, we'll talk about herbal teas tomorrow in the context of sleep. But sipping on herbal teas, we should, as a form of hydration, just, we should be, again, in the longevity zones, they consume between 2 and 4 cups of herbal tea every day. And again, they're just topping up those infection preventing mechanisms. Most herbal teas are mildly diuretic, so they lower blood pressure, which reduces the risk factors for things like strokes and things like dementia, which are caused by blood vessels bursting in the brain. So loads of, lots and lots of herbal teas. Paula, I bought a kilo of organic mixed herbs. I put them in my cooking. Perfect. Christine, I'd like to know the quantities of each colour. Yeah, I'll post that up like I said. Diane Brooks, herbs fresh or dried? That's a great question. Do you know what? It doesn't really make much difference. The only difference to be aware of is that dried herbs are much stronger because they haven't got any water in them. If you go out and pick fresh rosemary, there's a lot of water in there, so it's weaker. If you use dried rosemary or any herb, it's a lot stronger because the water's all being dried out of it. So you typically need less volume if you're using dried, but dried are brilliant. So it doesn't matter. If you've got fresh, use them. If you've got dried, you don't lose anything through doing so. If you're a pitta constitution, would black pepper be too heating? No, not in moderation. It will be fine. You don't want to be going, massive volumes of it. But pitta types still do very well with black pepper, so that's absolutely fine. Okay, so I guess there's 3 things for you to look at today and over the rest of the week. Are you getting the 5 colours in? How does your meal structure relate or correlate to the Harvard Health Plate? And look at your meals and how and where can you get in more herbs into your meals, including breakfast. Cinnamon is one of the most powerful antiviral herbal medicines on the planet. Adding half to 1 teaspoon of cinnamon into your porridge or into your cereal. You can put it on toast with honey to make a paste. Before you even leave the house, you've got this antiviral mechanism. So breakfast, lunch and dinners go heavy on herbs. So essentially there's 3 immune solutions or challenges for you to be aware of. If we can adopt these into our life over the coming winter, we're giving our immune system the building blocks, the raw materials it needs to build a powerful, robust immune system that can help to destroy infections. Okay. Supermarket dried herbs, they're pretty good kit. They are typically on the shelves longer, so they might be slightly less weaker Personally, we try and source dried herbs from an apothecary to get smaller batches that are in better quality. But it's not. I wouldn't say that's necessary. Herbs are herbs, so yeah, they'll be absolutely fine. Ray, thank you for making things uncomplicated. Thank you. I tend to have a habit of sometimes complicating things, but this week is all about simple, because if any of this stuff becomes too hard, no one's going to do it. If you don't do it, you don't get the benefits from it. So all the way through this week is hopefully going to be really simple. But this is, herbal medicines are an absolute passion of mine, and I can't wait to talk about those on Thursday and do the practical on Friday. But it still needs the foundation to be built upon. Okay, and that foundation comes from today. So please, if you just take, this time in 2 months, if you're only doing one thing from this week, I would try and make it this, because it's not just infection prevention, it's also heart disease and cancer risk factors and etc. etc. So the chai herbal honey is amazing. Yeah, we'll be covering herbal honeys later in the week, and we'll be making some on Friday evening, so stay tuned for that. We're actually covering the chai herbal honey, which is brilliant. Hi Nikki, thanks, great to hear from you guys as well. So thank you for joining me this afternoon, really appreciate it. If you've got any questions, subsequent to this, we're monitoring the page all week, so post your questions up and I will be answering them as we go. But thank you for joining us, thank you for joining this week. Make sure you kind of check out you actually look at your diet today and over the week to make sure you're ticking these boxes. Have a lovely day, and I will see you all at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Take care, everyone.